I think we'll get underway. This one isn't expected to be as long of an informational meeting, but it kind of depends on what type of questions people might have as we go through, or at the end of the meeting here. But just take an opportunity to thank everyone very much once again for joining us for the club volleyball informational meeting. Might likely be our last one of the season, or it's planned to be our last one for this season, but looking forward, this might be a tool or a venue where we communicate again to the clubs, whether it's later in the summer or into the fall as we start getting into more closer to next season's club volleyball season. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is mainly an opportunity to look forward to this summer, where we hope we'll be able to get back on the courts, outdoors and indoors, sooner rather than later. And even further as we look towards the 2022 club volleyball season, that will hopefully look a little more like a return to normal. Before we do get started, I do want to take the opportunity to sincerely thank those clubs and coaches who did manage to register and operate this year, in allowing to at least get some kids on the court, back on the volleyball court, even though it was only for a shorter period of time, even though it was a 3-month period from early March to early May, when at least small group training was allowed. We do truly appreciate your patience throughout the COVID period and efforts throughout this entire time. So thank you once again. In total, we had about 97 teams register for this year. We know that some others might have operated and might have been training without registering, but the 97 registered is just less than half of what we'd normally get in a club volleyball season. So, we do realize moving forward there might be, concerns and challenges as we look towards the upcoming and the subsequent club volleyball seasons. Especially we feel potentially around participation at the younger levels, at the 13, 14, 15U levels. And we really do look forward to working with all the clubs as you plan for next season, in hopes that we can build up to recent numbers and capacity again. For those that don't know, my name is John Blatcher. I'm the Executive Director for Volleyball Manitoba. And online with us, as well as Scott Koski, Anthony Roberts, and Adam DeYonk here from our staff, as well as a few board members and committee members as well. Just as we have previously, if you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind just making sure your mic is muted, just so when we do present and talk, it does come across as clear as possible. By all means, though, if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand with your button at the bottom, with your toggle at the bottom. And or you can also speak or type into the chat box. Anthony's going to kind of monitor that again if there's questions or comments that people might make as we proceed through here. And then, of course, we'll also have opportunity at the very end for questions and discussion. So the agenda was sent in the email, so we're just going to do a quick review of where we currently are, although most are most likely aware. We're going to take a look at the summer and into the fall, a little bit into 2022, not so much what we're planning at current time in terms of tournaments or whatnot, but we will share some information of what we know right now on national championship dates, and open it up at the end for any other discussion. So just talking a little bit right now, just on current status. So again, as I said, I'm certain most people are aware that only not much is allowed right now, obviously. So people are allowed to go outdoors and participate in sport, but only with household members. So outdoor sport with participants from outside your household and any other indoor sport is currently not allowed. And that's been in place now for a couple of weeks, and it's in place until at least June 12th. There is a chance that there might be some loosening of restrictions following June 12th. My assumption and guess would be that if anything does happen, it might be on an outdoor capacity as opposed to indoor, but we'll see how things go and progress with with COVID over the next couple of weeks here as we approach June 12th. As you all know, the biggest concerns right now in Manitoba are, is hospital capacity. It's ICU capacity. It's over capacity, and it's not so much that Manitoba's not doing well on vaccinations. We actually are doing fairly well with the number of people 18 and over, a number of people 12 and over now that are getting the vaccines. But right now, our issue in the province in terms of resuming and loosening restrictions primarily has to do with the healthcare capacity. We did make an announcement a little last month of just about the club season that normally ends at the end of May. It will continue formally until the end of June. So if there is an opportunity, I think there might have been a few teams that might have tried to get together again before the end of June. But primarily the current club season does extend through to June 30th, and we'll talk upcoming here about the summer and what we hope might happen. So a lot of this information is taken from our existing and which will, for the most part, currently applies with respect to our Volleyball Manitoba seasons of play, scouting, and recruiting regulations, and we have that document on our website, and we'll make sure we post that updated one with this presentation information on the website tomorrow. Starting in July, so the club season goes until the 30th. So starting in July, there might be an opportunity for summer camps, obviously, if the health orders allow. So we'll see what kind of allowances that we might be able to proceed with or to implement, starting in July. I know a lot of clubs normally do run camps, maybe mainly in August, but some do in July as well. And we have some programming that Scott will kind of review in a little bit here in July as well. We normally include camp information from clubs on our website for those clubs that might have plans in place and they might want the information posted. We are working on just a quick online link where you can update your information. You can pass on your information for any of the camps that we do want us to publish and post on our website. They will need to make sure they register through the link, and they do need to make sure that they do follow return to play and health order protocols. Part of our regulations in the past and currently is that for those that do run summer camps, and even for those that run fall camps, the camps must remain neither mandatory, meaning that athletes are not required to attend in order to maintain a place on your club team, nor exclusive, meaning it shouldn't just be your club team training. It must not be by invitation only. It should be an open opportunity, obviously within capacity, for others to attend outside your general club or team. Throughout the summer, and probably more specifically later in the summer, tryouts are not permitted. So camps are also not to be used as tryouts, although we understand that camps are used as identification opportunities, and that's fine, but they shouldn't be used as specific tryouts. And also beginning on the first Tuesday after the long weekend, clubs may start recruiting. So we had this in place last year and maintaining. So, until August 3rd, clubs shouldn't be recruiting athletes for the next club season, according to the current regulations. Scott, you want to talk a little bit just about a couple of the Team Manitoba programs and Canada Games programs, if you can just do a quick highlight on each of those that we're planning on operating in July and possibly in August for Canada Games.
Yeah, you can see here we do have some gym time booked in July, the first 3 weeks of July, day and evening, which we hope to offer some programming. The goal this year will be basically to try to keep athletes engaged. reconnect with athletes. If we are not able to offer a program this summer, that'll basically be almost 2 full years with not seeing any players in our Team Manitoba pathway. I'd say we're cautiously optimistic. Right now, we're planning on the same structure that we had last year, which is basically where we left off, small groups, probably no more than 9 or 10 per court, which is going to pose some challenges. Obviously, we won't be able to conduct any type of tryouts. So we do have pre-registration now open. You'll see we are offering some age categories that we traditionally don't. Just trying to identify who may be interested in participating and then how best we can serve them. This particular slide here, Team Manitoba will focus mainly, as you can see, from ages 10 to 16. Then on the next slide is our Canada Games. Also indoor and beach, we do have athlete registration. So we had the athletes registered last year in 2020 with the change in age categories, the postponement of the games an additional year. We are asking for athletes to register again. Anybody that registered last year has received an email just informing them that that is the intent. And again, we are working with our Canada Games coaches. We have a couple of different scenarios in place to evaluate athletes. And again, the basis right now, we're expecting, fingers crossed, we can do something indoor and in a small group. Just as, you know, compared to other provinces, we are, I think because we are a little bit behind in this third wave, we are a little bit behind in this programming. I know Alberta's, you know, prepared to launch their programming, BC as well, almost full. So we are hoping that we're able to do a little bit of training at least over the summertime so that we can keep moving in the right direction. That's all.
Thanks, Scott. Anthony, do you want to take it from here?
For sure. Can you hear me okay? I wasn't sure if I'm on the right mic or not. You got it? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
very good. Yeah.
So this is looking ahead a little bit to the fall and kind of what the plans are there. So we are still planning on utilizing an early signing window in early September. It will still be only for 16U athletes and older. Anything 15U and younger will still not be able to formally commit to a team until after the tryout window, which is how things have always been for that group. We'll be looking at the Tuesday following September long weekend. So that I believe is September 7th. And then there's a 7-day window there that'll be open for open signing, for early signing. This will not just be a re-signing. So it won't just be athletes from your club from the previous year. It'll be open signing. At this point, we aren't planning on having additional windows like we did this past season, but depending on what happens with school volleyball, that is something that we'll consider a little bit later into the summer as we have a better idea what could happen in the fall with school. So during the period immediately before the early signing and even during the early signing period, you can't be hosting tryouts during that period, just like it was this past season. We just wanted to reiterate that in case anybody was thinking ahead. For fall club regulations, it will be, again, like I said, it'll be pretty much the same as last year. Depending on how things look later in the summer, we will be reevaluating, mainly just based on what happens in school. We're really hoping the school will be able to run in some capacity, even if it's not exactly like we all remember. But we're hoping the kids will be able to play through school, and then we can kind of have a little bit more normal club season. So if clubs are planning on running camps in the fall, it will be very similar to the summer. The camps should not be, they cannot be mandatory or exclusive. Again, as John mentioned earlier, it means athletes can't be required to attend in order to maintain their place on a team, and it shouldn't be invitation only. The camp should be open to any athletes that are interested. Obviously, it could be a little bit different depending on public health orders, what the numbers, how many people you might be able to have in a gym. So just something to be aware of as we get closer. And as I think we always try to reiterate that school volleyball should be the athlete's priority during the school season. clubs should do their best if they do have camps to avoid conflicting with school programs. And whenever possible, clubs should be encouraging athletes to prioritize their school season and only use camps as supplemental training where appropriate. That might be a situation where an athlete isn't playing school volleyball, or they have one practice a week, maybe two practices a week, and it's great that the kid can go to a camp on a Sunday, sort of thing. You should really just try and use it as an opportunity for athletes who maybe aren't getting a full school training program. We can jump to the next one there, John. So for registration, the plan is to have a new system for this coming season. There's not too much I can tell you about it right now. We're still doing a lot of testing on the system and getting it ready for the fall. The system is Sport Lomo. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. John, did you at all? And then I'll jump back on.
Sorry, what's that?
I was asking if you could mute all. I'm getting a lot of feedback on my side.
Trying to find out who that might be. And I'm trying to find out how to mute all.
For mute all, you go to participants, and I think there might be a.
So I go to where? Participants, okay.
Yeah, I think there's an option there somewhere.
Oh, there we go.
And we're back. So as I was saying, Sport Lomo will be the new, or should be the new system come the fall. One thing that will be kind of new, kind of not. With the last few years, we've had a club info form that every club had to fill out. The plan will be for the new system to basically take this form online in the vein of a club approval process. So it'll be a lot of the same info that you're putting in. As noted here, there'll be a few things: club name, president/owner, contact info, that kind of stuff. They'll be required the names of an additional, or all of your directors if you have them, and if not, 2 additional individuals listed for dispute resolution purposes. They will be asking club type, so if it's a nonprofit, incorporated, sole proprietorship, etc. If you're not familiar with what all these are, the form will have brief description of all of those. Volleyball Canada is looking for a lot of this information just to have a better idea of basically what kind of clubs are out there, what the makeup is kind of across the country, that kind of thing. Teams will, or I guess clubs will also be required to just fill out some info around acknowledgements about safe sport, that they will, they will be following these guidelines, and they'll be following all of our other rules and regulations and that kind of thing for Volleyball Canada and Volleyball Manitoba. Clubs will need to be approved through the system before they can be on our website, before they can have their tryout info up there, before they can early sign athletes and all of that stuff. So right now the plan will be to have the system in place later in August, so everybody can be ahead of that if they are looking to early sign athletes. If for some reason the system isn't up and running by then, clubs will just be required to submit their club info form before they can go through the early signing process. I think for the most part that covers kind of what we know right now for the fall, and I mean, at least what we hope we know. And like I said earlier, as we get into August, into later August, and we start to see what the school season might look like, then we'll be reevaluating kind of where we're at and what we may or may not be able to adjust in terms of our regulations.
I'm just going to add 2 things, Anthony, just on Sport Lomo. From what I understand, a lot of the information that is already in goal line in terms of athlete names, birth dates, emails, I believe will carry forward into Sport Lomo. So I believe that clubs won't necessarily have to start from scratch with entering all the data.
Yeah,
Can
sure.
you just clarify that?
Yes, the plan will be to pull a database of essentially everyone in our system and go through and do our best to obviously remove any duplicates and and all of that, and have sort of as accurate a list of everybody as we can, and they will be uploaded into the new system. Then when you as a club contact go to create a player, essentially what should happen is you'll see, like, you'll be entering the player. You should get a pop-up to say, hey, is this the athlete you're looking for? And then when you say, okay, this is the kid, or this isn't the kid, then there will be basically the system will recall the info that we do have. You'll probably need to update a little bit of extra info, whether it's you or whether it ends up going straight to the end user. My understanding is that it's supposed to go straight to whoever the athlete or the parent is to fill in any extra info. So it shouldn't be too much of a burden on top of what you would normally do to register a team. The system should be fairly similar in how it operates with how you'll go about your registration. You'll create your team, and then you can register that team into events, essentially.
And from, again, what I understand, it's you'll register as the club, you'll be approved, and then you'll be able to register all your teams underneath your club umbrella, correct?
That is the theory, basically. Yeah.
That's the idea, or
Yeah.
that's the ultimate intent, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. The other thing I just wanted to add about club approval is initially historically we always ask for all the information, a lot of what you see here, but then we've also asked, okay, which teams are you running? Who are your coaches going to be? And that information won't be required initially. It'll just be, who's your main contact, who's the person that's accountable for the club, what's the general information, who are your directors, what type of club do you have, do you acknowledge all the rules and regulations and policies, and then with that information we will approve, Volleyball Canada will approve. From there you can start entering your other data, but you won't require all of that originally like we have had historically requested and required of clubs. So it's just wanted to clarify that as well. It should be an easier process, but it is more of a formal process that we're putting in place by requiring clubs to be approved and requiring it to be done online.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time, but I would note that this is different from club accreditation. This is very base level, just collecting information. Club accreditation is something Volleyball Canada is looking at that would basically require a little bit more of clubs, but they're not there yet. So just in case anyone had heard and was maybe getting a little bit worried about what they might have to do.
Yeah. National, Anthony, this is you still, right?
I didn't think so, but I can do it.
Okay, it's you.
Okay, so the tentative dates for Nationals 2020, or I guess 2022, will be the May 5th to 8th for 14U East. I don't think that impacts too many of us. May 12th to 15th for the 14U West, and Volleyball Canada is planning an adult event. I am a little bit skeptical, but I guess we'll see if they can get it off the ground. And then May 18th to 24th will be the 15U to 18U festival style event. For next season, the plan is to go with the new volleyballs. So this is it's a little bit of an undertaking for clubs. Obviously, there could be some expense here, but this is the way Volleyball Canada is going. So we are planning on going along with it as well. We'll be using the new VQ200W for 13U through 15U, and the V200W for 16U through 18U.
And I'll just add that in terms of our season, we would, at current time, plan that we would run some type of comparable season that we've historically run, but we'll be keeping an eye on what may or may not be allowed, or what may be prudent to organize. In terms of competitions, they might be limited in terms of the number of teams. They might be structured differently with waves in terms of minimizing people in and out. Again, we don't know what 8 months will look like down the road in terms of COVID and health restrictions and and all of that. But we'll continue to communicate as best we can as we go through early to mid to later fall with respect to that. Volleyball Canada's dates are tentative, as Anthony indicated and as outlined here. They are expecting to make an announcement, I'm going to say by early July, with respect to the actual confirmed dates, but also the locations as well. When you look at a festival event, it's usually in Edmonton, a Calgary, a Toronto, maybe a Montreal. So there's only three, maybe four locations that it could be at. So I would expect that the festival event 15U to 18U on that weekend will be in one of those locations. So we'll hear more in a month or so. Adam, you got that one?
You bet. I know everybody in this meeting is probably volleyball deprived or have a team who is also very volleyball deprived. So we've got some opportunities coming up internationally, both indoor and outdoor, for Team Canada, and obviously approaching the Tokyo Olympics not too far around the corner as well. So for those who may not know, the men and women's national teams are currently in Italy at the Volleyball Nations League, and CBC Sports is streaming each and every one of the games. So we just have next week's round of matches, this week's round of matches posted here. So if you're interested, check out CBC Sports. On the beach side of things, there's a few competitions coming up around the corner. Most notably would be the Continental Cup there. As it's noted, it's the last chance Olympic qualifier, and Canada has a few teams vying for a last spot. So there's also a YouTube link included there to check out some beach if that's what you're interested in. I also want to take a quick second to allude to the 18U coaches or directors who may have an 18U team within their club. We are trying to do a little bit of recognition of those 18U athletes who will be moving on from club volleyball. Additionally, with players who are going to be moving on and playing post-secondary volleyball next year as well. So I sent an email earlier today. If you could just remind your 18U coaches to take a look and reply back to me just to confirm some rosters and things like that. We just don't want to, or we want to make sure we're not leaving anybody out in this recognition, because these 18U athletes have been through enough. We just want to make sure they make this list. So that's the last reminder there. But check out some volleyball. There's lots going on in the next month or two.
Great match today. Our women's team beat China, best of in the fifth set. China's #1 in the world. It was an incredible, historic victory for them. So they're doing really well on in the Nations League, and as you know, the men's team is going to be in the Olympics. So this is a great tune-up for them as they compete throughout the next few weekends. Scott, when does the Nations League continue until?
Till the end of June.
End of June. So there's going to be several more weekends coming up of the Nations League on CBC Sports, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Olympics, we'll have. Do we have the 2 qualified women's teams, or just the one right now?
Both teams are going to be in.
So 2 qualified women's teams. The Canadian men have to compete potentially to qualify potentially at the last chance Olympic qualifier, but at least we'll have some good Canadian representation at the Olympics in Tokyo later this summer. That was our agenda. It wasn't as cumbersome as some of our past agendas, but the opportunity now if people wanted to ask any questions or ask for any clarifications. Maybe I'll get if anyone is typing anything or thinking of anything, I think you can even do a show of hands with your buttons there. Who's planning on running camps or hopefully running camps this summer as may be allowed? Take a look at some of your hands up. Got the bandits are thumbs up there. Evan Morris, BVC's running camps. Evan, you're with Phoenix, right? That's correct, right, Anthony?
That's correct. Yeah.
Don't see many more pilots. I believe our junior pilots are planning something as well, from what I understand, and a few others. So I'm just curious to see who's currently planning something out there.
Prov just announced their cancellation of our camps.
Prov just announced the cancellation.
You bet. We're shutting it down, unfortunately.
Crappy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. See, junior Bisons are planning. Dynamo's planning, mostly in August, it looks like. Yeah. So there is several. So in the next, I'm going to say in the next week, we will have that, maybe even by the end of this week, we will have that link that clubs can enter their information if they wanted us to share it on our website. We'll make sure we communicate that. Scott, do you want to take this question? Well, I can answer it really quickly, but Scott, maybe you can chime in if there's anything else to add. So Sask Volleyball just announced their return to play in regards to vaccine rate being at 70% or higher. Have we been in discussion with health officials about what that could look like here? So we do have another meeting. We have bi-weekly, every 2-week meetings with Sport Manitoba. We might hear a little bit about what's currently being considered as possibilities for next steps of reopening. But as I had in one of the slides, Kyle, almost all the provinces across the country have reopening plans. The reopening plans are largely based on vaccine rates, but I think to a degree, hospital capacity as well. We don't have that reopening plan in place yet. Manitoba doesn't have the plan in place. And I would suggest, or I would guess that until, our healthcare system, our hospitals become a little bit more in control, I guess, of the hospitalizations, Manitoba might delay their reopening plan until that happens. Scott, anything you can add in on that, or is that about cover it?
Nope, that about covers it. Yep.
Okay. Does that help, Kyle? Yeah. And if anything does come out of significance that comes out of our Sport Manitoba meetings, we'd obviously share that as we move ahead. So, yeah. We can give it a couple more minutes. Again, if someone wants to unmute and ask a question or type away. Quiet.
You guys still have grass nets, grass court stuff that we could potentially borrow or use or rent or whatever?
Yeah, we do have a good inventory of outdoor net systems. So if anything indoor isn't allowed, we and clubs are potentially looking at running some outdoor stuff. We can definitely do some loaners for sure. Just reach out to us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, if there's no other questions, we'll hang out for another couple minutes. But again, I do appreciate everybody's efforts, throughout the spring so far, everybody's patience, and everybody's motivation, hopefully to get some kids back on the court as soon as we can. We're looking to do the same with our programs in July, and we're looking forward to Beach League starting hopefully in July, and hopefully sooner than later that'll all be allowed, and that'll all hopefully you guys will get your on-court coaching fixes once again. So once again, thanks very much, and hopefully everyone has a great summer. And as we always say, if you need anything, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us.